Hello, and in case no one's told you this week, we're so back. Thunderbolts is the movie that the MCU seemed to just forget it was able to make this entire time, and it came just in time as we are on the brink of a new Avengers movie. Wink.
Gaming cookie guy.
Entertainment.
So wait, got you, entertainment. If Thunderbolts was so good, then why are you making a rewrite video on it? Well, to be totally honest, I was not planning on making a video about Thunderbolts at all because, truthfully, I like the movie a lot, and there's pretty much nothing I would change about it. But then I was talking to a friend of mine about the movie, and I realized that there was one thing that I would have wanted to see from this movie. And now that the movie's out, I never will get to see that. And it is Steven Yeun as Sentry. Now, don't get me wrong for a second, because Lewis Pullman was great in the role of Bob Reynolds. And it's not even that I would want to see him replaced. I just lament that we will never get to see the version of this movie with Yeun in that role, because I think it could have potentially been a very different movie. Like, I'm not even saying it would be a better movie, but it would still be an interesting one that I would want to watch. And so in this video, I'm going to do my best watcher impression and ask what this movie would have been like if Steven Yeun stayed on as Sentry. But first off, like, why Steven Yeun? Why am I so fixated on this guy over any other actor to play Sentry? Why is he the subject of this video? Well, if you didn't know, he was originally cast to play this role. He was announced as playing Sentry all the way back in 2023, but due to scheduling conflicts and due to the Hollywood strikes at the time, he had to drop out of the project, and he was replaced by Lewis Pullman. And if you don't know who Steven Yeun is, you might remember him from his side role in Jordan Peele's Nope. If you're an awards season movie watcher like I am, you would have seen him in Minari. If you're a bad TV watcher, you would know him from The Walking Dead. But if you're strictly a comic book fan, then you would maybe not know his face, but you would definitely know his voice as he plays Mark Grayson in Prime Video's animated series And I'd assume if you asked Thunderbolts director Jake Schreier, where do you know Steven Yeun from? He'd probably say from the Netflix series Beef, where Steven Yeun played the co-leading role of Danny Cho. That show also happened to feature the directing stylings of one Jake Schreier. And I think that's important. I think that isn't for nothing, because I have to imagine that if Jake Schreier wanted Steven Yeun for the role of Bob Reynolds, it has to have been something he saw in his performance for Beef. And I know it isn't as simple as take Danny Cho and put him into Thunderbolts, but for the rest of this video, I'm pretty much going to imagine what it would be like if Danny Cho was thrown into Thunderbolts. In the Thunderbolts movie, as we know it, Bob is pretty much a sympathetic character right from the start. He has this energy that I can only describe as like stray puppy for most of the movie, until he finally has to start doing Sentry and later Void things under the influence of De Fontaine. And Danny Cho doesn't have that energy, not really. He is selfish, he's vengeful, he's constantly doing whatever he can do to gain the respect and the approval of others, and affectionately all around he's just kind of a scumbag. And like, I'm sure he's probably a fine person in real life, but credit to Steven Yeun, he plays a great scumbag. Like, look no further than his performance in a movie that came out just this year, Mickey 17, where he plays just this absolutely self-centered jerk, but the worst kind of self-centered jerk, the one that genuinely thinks that he is in the right.
What's it feel like to die?
So now imagine a version of Thunderbolts where after waking up, Bob is still this aloof guy like he was in the original, but it's far more performative, because Yeun's Bob, he's a survivor. He's an addict. He is used to saying whatever he has to say. He's used to being whoever he has to be to get what he wants. And if the opportunity presents itself for him to come out on top, that is absolutely an avenue he will take. So when Val finally catches up to him, does capture Bob, and presents this fantasy to him of being a superhero, being loved and respected by millions and millions of people, of course that is something that he would want. And not in the way that Pullman's Bob wants it. Like, he is seeking to improve himself, to be the best version of himself that he can be. No, Yeun's Bob wants to improve so that everybody else can give him the validation that he has been deprived of his entire life up to that point. In the original movie, when Sentry makes his big debut and fights off the Thunderbolts, Pullman's Bob seems mostly disinterested, dispassionate, kind of above it all. But imagine Steven Yeun's Bob knowing that he was hurting mostly good people and doing it anyway, because this is the path to what he's always wanted. He literally has to put others down in order to elevate himself. But critically, he's still not going to want to kill them. That would still be a bridge too far. Like, this is a far less redeemable character, but it's not an irredeemable one. Anyway, when this Sentry does turn into the Void, this Bob has not yet earned Yelena's trust to dive in head first to help save her friend. Instead, she is dragged backward into a scary world of the void, of darkness, and it is only through these flashbacks that we get a better sense of who Robert Reynolds is. Yes, throughout this movie with this version of this character, it would be a lot harder to be on his side. But if this end sequence is done right, I think it could pay off even to greater effect than the original, kind of like that last episode of Beef did. It would have been all the more satisfying to see the Thunderbolts and the audience go from seeing Robert as just this scumbag who was given godlike abilities to a human, a boy with a complicated past, an abusive one, a person who has only ever wanted that voice in his head that tells him that he will never be good enough to quiet down. And he's just gone about that in all the wrong ways. Finally, on this journey together, Bob grows a bit too and realizes that if he really does want the whole world to love him, then he's going to have to start trying to love himself. And that journey starts by not relentlessly punching the worst parts of yourself in the face. Probably. I wouldn't know, to be honest. But of course, nothing gold can stay. So, of course, through memory loss comic book shenanigans, Bob loses all memory of this event and therefore all of his character growth. Now, that wasn't a problem when it happened in the original Thunderbolts because Bob was kind of a depressed guy, but he was a nice one, so we didn't mind if he lost a little bit of his character arc. In this case, it's something big that we have lost. And at this point, it's just going to be something where the audience and the characters in the movie know that when this Bob Reynolds lashes out or says something stupid, he really doesn't mean it. It's coming from a good place. Underneath all of that, he is a good guy. He's officially graduated from being a scumbag to like a lovable scamp kind of guy. And by and large, I think that's pretty much the trade-off. You trade the depression of one Reynolds for the selfishness of another. And I think that's what the movie might have looked like with Steven Yeun. But then again, I could be totally off in that assessment. So please let me know in the comments, what do you think this movie would have looked like if they had kept their original casting of Steven Yeun, if he had stayed on to play Sentry and Void? If you like this little video of mine, please like it, of course, but stick around. I have plenty of other MCU fare you might enjoy. So please check them out, subscribe for more in the future. I will see you then.